Do you love me? Love is possibly the most used, the most misused, and probably the most misunderstood word in the Bible. Now, the Bible tells us in 1 John 4:16, "And we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love." And that we should love, for love covers every wrong, every offense, and even sin, as we can read in Proverbs 10, John 3:16, 1 Corinthians 13, and 1 Peter 4. However, in all of that, what is love really all about? Well, we know from the Gospels that right at the end of Jesus' ministry on earth, Peter, who had a big heart and also a big mouth, which often got him into trouble, said that he would lay down his life for Jesus. Yet, shortly after, Peter 3 times denied even knowing Jesus. Now, how did Jesus, the living expression of God's love, respond to what Peter said and what Peter did? Well, let's go to John chapter 21, because there we will find the secret to what love really is. Now the disciples had been fishing all night and caught nothing. And Jesus, who went to where they were, then showed them where the fish were, and even prepared breakfast for them. Now afterwards, Jesus had what is possibly the most famous discourse on love in the Bible. John chapter 21, 15 through 17. Jesus said, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these?" Peter said to him, "Lord, you know that I love you." And he said to him, "Feed my lambs." Then Jesus said to him again a second time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" Peter said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And he said to him, "Tend my sheep." Then he said to him the third time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" Peter was grieved because he had said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to Jesus, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Now, there are 2 questions about this discourse. Firstly, did Jesus ask the same question 3 times? And secondly, why was Peter grieved when Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" To answer this, we need to understand that in the Bible there are 2 words used for love, agape and phileo. What is the difference? Agape, the God kind of love, is all about giving, as we can see in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his best without demand. And what is phileo? Phileo is brotherly love, and that is all about depending on each other. If I need help, I can depend on you for help. So let's look again at this conversation considering this. "Simon, son of Jonah, do you agape me more than these?" Peter said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you." He said to him a second time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you agape me?" Peter said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you." Then Jesus changed the question and asked the third time, "Simon, son of Jonah, do you phileo me?" Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, "Do you phileo me?" And he said to him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I phileo you. Interesting. Why was Jesus asking those questions? Was Jesus judging Peter? Or was he comparing Peter to the other disciples? What was Jesus teaching Peter and possibly the other disciples? Well, Jesus was teaching Peter and the other disciples the reality of God's love, the application of God's love, and what laying down our lives is really all about. Whilst at the same time, Jesus was also restoring Peter's confidence so that he could be a vessel of honor in the Father's hands. So now, let's go back to those 3 verses, but this time using the real meaning of the word love used there. Simon, son of Jonah, do you have something to give for me more than the others have? Peter said to him, Lord, you know that I need you. He said to him a second time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you have something to give for me? Peter said to him, Lord, you know that I need you. Then Jesus changed the question, asking the third time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you really need me? Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you need me? And he said to him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I need you. So now, what was Jesus saying to Peter? And what was Jesus teaching Peter and the disciples and us also? Peter, you say you need me, but do you really need me? Because you are trying to do it all on your own and in your own strength. Peter, you will not change the lives of others whilst you are trying to do that in your own ability. And Peter, you will not have anything to give to others until you start drawing from me, all that I have prepared for you. As we can clearly see in 1 John 3:16 and 18. By this we know love, agape, because he laid down his life for us. And we also ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth.